Hello friends, recently I transitioned from the Windows laptop into an iPad Pro for all my workflows and the overall experiment went really well and I don't miss my Windows laptop as much. So in that continuation I thought let me try the iOS ecosystem and going to get into an iPhone 11 so that I can do AirDrop and handoff feature seamlessly within the two devices. So if you are jumping from the Android to iOS, then this video is for you. I'll be dividing the video into two parts. This will be the cons part, the problems which you will face from Android to iOS, and there will be a pros part which will coming next. With that said, let me start the video. Okay, the first shock that you'll get when you're transferring from Android to iOS is that your WhatsApp doesn't sync to Google on iOS. So all your chats tend to be deleted even though there are few paid apps that claim to be transferring the data across devices, but I didn't risk losing my money for this. It's a huge issue. Similarly, iOS user cannot live with the absence of iMessages, and I can very well understand now what goes through a mind when you are switching a platform. The second issue I came across is there is something called as the dynamic text switching on iOS devices, which doesn't work on Google apps on iOS. In Android, all apps and systems support the same text size across the board, but in iOS the app has to support the dynamic text switching. So even if you fix a text size in the system, but that app may not support the small or big text sizes. So this happens in Google Chrome as well as YouTube Studio and the various Google apps. This I found especially irritating in Google Chrome browser because most of my passwords are synced to Google Chrome. So again, Safari using is slightly problematic for me. Even Safari has a separate button to increase or decrease the text sizes, which Google Chrome doesn't have in its settings. So coming to the third rant, the screen of iPhone 11 has a default heavy warm tone. If I am using a LCD screen, I want perfectly white whites. But when you switch on the iPhone 11 for the first time, the screen has a warm tone, and even that is there even with the true tone switched off. So to remove this yellowish cast, again you have to go into settings under accessibility. There is something called as a color tint, and you have to change the color tint according to your preference to get a white background, properly white. So anyone new iPhone 11 users, if you are having a yellowish screen, do check that setting inside accessibility. Another small problem I faced is the silent button should have had a white hue on the red color model. On the red color model also, they have an orange hue when the silent button is activated. The orange color is very prominent in any other colors that the iPhone 11 or any iPhone had. Till date they have stuck to the orange color, but on this particular red color, this orange color completely merges with the red color of this phone, and many times you cannot see that your ringer volume is off or on. So this is a very minor rant I have for this, but since it is Apple, I do assume that they take a lot of care in such things. Even though it is a 6.1 inch, but the real estate is feeling constrained. There is the side bezels as well as there is a top notch as well as there is a small chin. So overall the screen actually feels much smaller than the claimed 6.1 inch. The screen quality also, even though most of the YouTubers claim that to be excellent and very close to sRGB, but the screen quality is just as good as a 15,000 Redmi Note 8 Pro that I have. Nothing great here. This is a good LCD screen having average to good brightness levels, and colors are also accurate. Now another irritating feature is I do not know why Apple is forcing us to overuse their power buttons. It is as if the company intentionally likes us to overuse the buttons so that these fail over a period of time. A simple switching off the phone needs two buttons to be pressed together. I don't know why. How many people complained actually that the phones get switched off in the pant pockets or something like that? When there is an incoming call and your phone screen is switched off, you cannot reject the call. You have to press the power button again twice. A simple install of an app by default has to be done by clicking on the power button twice. I mean, really Apple, do you really want this power button to crash so that I can buy a new iPhone again? Now coming to the gestures, there is a lot of hype that iOS introduced the gestures, but I feel the implementation is as good in Android. The gestures in iOS are not uniform, especially the back gesture. Sometimes swiping from left works, and once you reach the end of the gestures, then you have to find for the top left back button because you cannot go out of the app or go back again. In this respect, I think iOS was better in olden times. The home screen now feels so stale. Even after 10 or 12 years, same grid of icons filling the home screen is really boring now. The lack of a fast charger is a big issue for me after being adjusted to the super fast charging methods available in most Android phones. Another demerit of staying in Apple's walled garden is Kindle app downloads are not possible inside the Kindle app as iPhone or iOS charges commission. Hence Amazon asks you to download the books through Safari web browser and then it automatically syncs into the Kindle app. I mean, this is really disgusting. So even when you download a book, it asks you whether you want to read it on Kindle app or on your Kindle device. Whereas in Android, it syncs in all the devices you have. Another irritating feature of iOS I found is it is very easy to drag the control center from the right top side of the screen, whereas it is very difficult to pull the notification drawer from the left side of the screen. The notification drawer has to be pulled almost till the midway of the screen to actually activate it. It kind of gets irritated. Coming to another part of this iOS hype is the fluidity. Fluidity of the iOS is now I consider as a myth. After using even the OnePlus 7 Pro device and the Redmi Note 8 Pro, Android has definitely caught up. The scrolling is intentionally slow to avoid the user seeing the buffering. But Android phone scrolling is relative to the finger swiping speed and it is decisively faster than the iOS. This part came as a shocker to me. And if someone claims that there is no graphical glitches in iOS, I beg disagree. There is a definite glitch that happens when you draw the spotlight, number one, and number two, when you're a lot of apps open and you open the multitasking gesture, there is a definite pause or stutter. Now coming to another irritating feature is the lightning cable. Lightning cable is such a regressive thing. I have an iPad Pro 2018 and USB-C is so much better and versatile for accessories. Starting from OTG cables to various card readers to mouse, everything almost works. But for this lightning adapter, you have to purchase a separate accessory which costs a huge amount of money. And I sincerely feel this is the last version of iPhone with the lightning connector. There may be many more rants about iOS versus Android. I don't want to go into that war zone, but really I do not feel I'm getting a lot more with this iOS device than staying with the Android. I think Android has caught up nicely with iOS. There are some apps which function very nicely on iOS because there is only one or two devices to play with, so the implementation of the apps is very good in iOS. But apart from that, if the few apps you use on Android works good for you, then I think there is no lead that Apple has right now for people to switch from Android to iOS. So thank you guys for watching. The pros part of this iOS device or the iPhone 11 will be coming very soon. So stay tuned and subscribe to my channel for more. Thank you.